Hi there. Okay, so in this video, we're going to learn how to edit this accent font, this creativity word. Right now, we're looking at the home page of the site that we've been steadily updating. And I'm going to switch over here. This is the branding page. Now, we've looked at this page in an earlier video when we were working on setting up our global presets. As a reminder, this page is for demonstration purposes. It's really just to help you see all the styles and colors together in one place, but we don't actually use this page to adjust any of these settings. If you scroll down here, you can see we've got this section called accent styles, where we are showing a sample of the cursive accent, which is the same thing that we've got on the home page here. And then there's a second option simply for applying a different color to a single word or even a group of words within a larger piece of text that uses a different or contrasting font. Now, I don't think that this second option here is actually in use anywhere on the site, but I included it as an option for someone who might want to incorporate that kind of look. So anyways, we're going to be working on updating these, but we're not going to be doing it here on this page, but we'll be able to view all the changes here once everything is updated. So to get started, we're going to switch back to WordPress, and I'm going to go into Divi Theme Options. And right here under the General tab, which is selected by default, we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom to this section called Custom CSS. And if you take a look here, we've got these two little code snippets, highlighting one and the other. And first one's labeled accent text cursive font with different color, and the second one is accent text same font with different color. And those correspond to the two different accent styles that we saw on the branding page. So before we start editing this, I'm first going to advise that you have your color picked out, and you can just scroll up here to your color palette and click on one of those, whichever color you're using, and copy that hex code and just save it off to the side so that you have that handy. And then second, I'm going to recommend that you have your font picked out that you want to use. Over here, I've got Google Fonts open, and this is the font that I've selected, Pinion Script, and that is, that's this font that's in use here on the site that we're mimicking. Now, I've already got mine selected, so you can spend a little time picking yours out, but once you have that ready, you're going to look for this option to select the font. You'll just click this little plus icon, and that's going to save it to your selections. Now, if you want to see your selections while you're working, you're going to look in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll see this icon that says View Selected Families. If you click on that, it's going to open the side window where you can keep track of any fonts that you've selected along the way. Now, when you're ready, you'll want to make sure you only have one selection here. And you can see that I have another font, this Aquafina script. This is one that comes installed on the theme. So I'm going to expand this, and I'm going to click Remove All, or you could also just click this little minus icon there, and that will get rid of it so that I only have my Pinion script showing. This little bit of code down here, both these two sections here, that's something that we're going to be using in a minute, so I like to have this ready to go before I get started. Now, heading back to Divi, we're going to scroll down to the bottom again and to this custom CSS section, and right here under this cursive font where it says color, if you just highlight that whole color snippet, starting with the hash sign there, you can delete it and then click paste, and then you can hit save. Now I will refresh on the front end, and there we go. We can see that that change has been made. So going back to Divi, now I'm going to paste that same hex code into this second bit of code that controls the other accent font option. Again, I'm just going to delete that, click paste, and save. This time we'll refresh the branding page. And there we go. You can see all these changes have been made. So that's pretty simple. Now for changing the actual font, we're going to head back to Google Fonts here. We're going to grab this bit of code from the section called CSS Rules. We're just going to click the little copy icon here. That'll copy everything. And head back to Divi. And on this line here labeled number 4, and it should be labeled number 4 for you unless if you've made any other changes. I'm going to highlight this bit of text all the way from the beginning to the end. Click delete, and then I'm going to hit paste, and you'll see that it has replaced that text with the new font. We just want to make sure that we have font family at the beginning and the semicolon there at the end. And we'll go ahead and click save. Now, before we refresh the front end though, I want to go back to Google because we've got one more piece of code here I want to grab. This time, this first piece of code here, you want to make sure that the link option is selected, which it typically is by default. But we're just going to hit the copy icon to grab this whole piece of code. And we're going to go back to Divi. We're going to scroll up, and still under Divi options, we're going to go to the second to last tab here called integration. Click on that, scroll down, and look for this area called add code to the head of your blog. And within there, you're going to see we've got some code already in here. You want to find this section that's labeled embed Google font, and you're going to highlight between the tag that says embed Google font and end. Okay, so you're going to highlight all that text between, delete it. You want to make sure you still have the embed Google font at the beginning and the end tag there at the end. Your cursor is between those. Then just click paste. And that looks pretty good. Once we've got that in there, we can scroll up and hit Save Changes. And now we'll take a look at the front end. I'll go ahead and hit refresh. And there we go. If I go to my branding page, same thing, hit refresh. There we go. Now you can see that that change has been made. So going back here to our General tab, I'm going to scroll down again to the CSS section. You're going to see that we've got a few more options here: font size and letter spacing. Now, font size, you'll see it's set to inherit. That means whatever the font size the parent element is set to, so that's like this text here around the word creativity, that same font size is going to be applied to this word as well. But you can see that with this particular script that it looks maybe a bit small next to this, to the rest of this text. So I'm going to adjust this, and using an M value, I'm going to put in 1.5 EM. Notice there's no space there. I'm going to go ahead and click save and refresh on the home page. And there we go. That looks quite a bit better to me. So you can play around with that some, especially depending on the script font that you choose and the other fonts that you're using. But what I want you to understand here is that the M value functions as a relative value. So 1 M is equal to the font size of the surrounding text or the parent element. Whereas if I say 1.5, it means that I want this word to be 1.5 times bigger than the other words of the surrounding text here. If I said 2 EM, then that's saying I want this to be twice as big as these other words. So you could use a pixel value here, but that might cause you a little trouble when you get into mobile if you have your font set up to be on different sizes on desktop versus mobile. So my advice would be to either use an M value or stick to the original value of inherit. Moving on here to the letter spacing, that just has to do with the spacing between letters. And here I would recommend, if you don't want it to be normal, that I would recommend that you use a pixel value. And now I like mine as is, but just to show you how this works, I'm going to quickly change this to 10 px, click save, and hit refresh. And you can see how that is significantly more spread out now. So again, I'm going to keep mine as normal. I'm just going to hit undo and then save changes. Now on this other code snippet here, labeled color text, color is the only element that you need to think about, so that's we should be all set there. Now, just saving one more time, I want to show you how you would actually implement this on the site if you wanted to use it somewhere else. So I'll enable the visual here, the visual builder, and I'm just going to duplicate this quote, go into that. Now you're going to be under this first tab, the content tab, under this body section, but we're going to click into this text tab here, and you'll see that there is what's called a span tag surrounding the word creativity. So I'm just going to copy that full piece of code from the opening span tag to the closing span tag. I'm going to copy it, and let's say I want the word fashions to be my fancy word. I'm just going to put my cursor in there right before fashions, hit paste. Now, of course, it still says creativity because I copied that word too. All I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the word creativity and change it to fashions. And then I'll get rid of the fashions outside the span tag. And there you go. Now you can see I've got both of those in the cursive font. And if we want this to be the just the color text and not the cursive, what you can do is grab this. So let me point out here first. See how this says cursive hyphen font? And you notice in the span tag here between the two quotes, it says cursive hyphen font. That is what's connecting that bit of code to this particular word. So if we want it to be color text, we're just going to change that to color hyphen text. And now you'll see that's exactly what we've got going on. It's the same font as the parent element, it's just a different color. All right, and then of course you would click save if that's something that you want to save, and you should be good to go. All right, so that is it for this video. In the next one, we're going to cover updating fonts and colors in the mobile navigation using the responsive menu plugin so that it matches what we've got going on the desktop here. So we'll see you there.